Um, Actually, this is my second presentation. I just gave one to the middle school, and I was like, I feel like it's weird. This is a high school presentation. I'm presenting to a middle school, so you can hear my voice. It's a bit weird because I just came back Miami last night, so like I was cheering for Chris Bosh, his jersey retirement, and then he's gone and he didn't make the playoffs. Yeah, it's bad. Um, so my senior project is about the time when you by yourself. Can you please turn off the light and just keep the light on the stage? So now I'm on the stage all by myself right now. Think about the time when you are just by yourself. How you gonna describe it? Uh, and then another question is, how you define loneliness? It's a hard word. Lot of I don't know if you guys experience that a lot, but why I'm doing this for the for the high schoolers, not for the middle schoolers, is this is actually you guys will face after you go into the college. The definition of the loneliness is feeling sad and unhappy about being socially isolated. Everyone will have a period of time they were facing this. Let's take a look at the video.
I don't know what he's doing. Why?
Yes, I've experienced loneliness before.
Yeah, I feel like there's just certain points in days where you can feel lonely, even if it's not for a big stretch of time. Like, I don't know. I feel like those feelings can come and go a lot. But yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
One of the times that I felt lonely was, of course, when my first husband died, and that was a very lonely time in my life because I felt like nobody else could really understand what I was going through. But in a way, there's a time in a lot of nights when you wake up in the night and you just feel like you're alone. And even though, yeah, there are other people in the house, you're awake and no one else is awake, and it's a kind of a lonely feeling.
Okay, I've felt lonely a lot of different times in my life. So as a child, having no other siblings around anymore and just at home, just kind of parents always working and always coming home to an empty house. It was a time that I remember feeling really lonely, and and then throughout my life there have been moments of feeling alone, and even when I was surrounded by a lot of people, even feeling really alone. So after the loss of a child that I had, feeling really alone, and that was a time where lots of people were around me, but I felt alone.
Yes, I have. A lot, in fact, because when I was a young man, well, actually a young student, my dad was in the Navy, so we would move every time he got redeployed. And so I would never ever get a chance to really make good friends because we moved so much. And that was a way of, I ended up being very lonely in the sense that I did not have any lifelong friends that I could make, because I would just go there, we'd be there maybe a year, 2 years, sometimes 6 months, depending on when he was moving. So for me to go to a school to try and make friends, it wasn't worth it eventually, because I would know I would just be leaving them. So that led to me being pretty on my own, pretty alone.
The time where I've experienced the most loneliness was when I was in college. I, like most people do when they go into college, I had a set goal, I had a plan of what I was intending to do with my life, and things outside of my control happened, and I couldn't continue to pursue that. So I had to do a lot of reassessing. I had to change what my life plan was going to be at that point. My roommate in college couldn't relate, didn't understand, and she and her family thought I just needed to get over it. During all of this, I was, going to college 13 hours from home, and I kind of got this underlying sense from my parents of a I told you so, almost. So, for me, loneliness isn't about being alone, and saying that as an introvert, it's the most profound loneliness is when people don't understand you.
Mm-hmm.
So at time in college, that was hard.
Yeah, I definitely have at some times, but I think the time that was the most was probably when I had a mono. I had to be at home for about 3 weeks, away from school, away from everyone. I just felt really isolated from everyone.
I feel like in middle school I had some knee surgeries, and so one thing that was really hard for me was like while I was trying to recover and stuff, all my friends were out playing sports and having fun running around, but like I was never really able to do that because of my knee for like almost a year.
Yeah.
So that was a difficult time, I guess, because when you're that age, you just want to be out running with your friends.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that was kind of rough, and just middle school in general is kind of rough. So yeah.
When I felt lonely,
Yeah.
when you left for the airport.
Yeah.
And I was crying,
Yeah.
and felt lonely without you. One time, I was camping without nobody in my tent, and I got out and I was scared, and I went back to sleep. Then I heard something outside of the tent, and I was so scared. Then I just really quickly ran in my mom and dad's tent. Then I asked
Other people I got interviewed, and they talk about their loneliness. When you are away from the people you know or the people you love, you have a hard time. Shoot, my bad. This is another raise hand question. How many of you have been to another country without anyone you know? Mrs. Mitchell, I saw. Yeah, Dylan, I saw you. And then I came here last year, but I'm cool with that because my story is different. I was born in Wenzhou, a small city in southern part of China. We are well known by doing business. We spread out all over the world. As my parents, they don't spread all over the world. Basically, they don't speak English and they're not here. And so if you can look up and then the small house I drew for like one study hall for that small house, that's my hometown is. And then you see the cross next to it, the red cross next to it, is where my parents is. My dad just started a business when I was born. And it's not like a good time when your dad is business, when the time you need your parents' attention. I don't remember what that period of time will happen to me, but in my memory, I spent most of the time with my grandparents. I was pretty independent when I was like 5 or 6 years old. My mom still talks about that time when she come back from the city and she saw me just sitting downstairs by myself, just playing water by myself. It's a bit weird. I was quiet, not a troublemaker. I don't know if you guys still remember last year, there's a Chinese girl talk about the left behind children in China. I think that time I'm in the group. After my dad's business fell and restart again, they have to move the city far away from my hometown. See the far away red cross there? It's at Chengdu. It's where my parents have their other business. So, and that time I'm about to go to kindergarten and start my boarding school period of my life. You know, like, I know around here we normally do homeschool, and parents want to keep their children as close as they can. But sorry, in China we have to let them get independent as soon as they can. No, just kidding. Um, I don't know. My mom talked about that time. She said she still feels sorry about that big period of my time. I don't have my parents around me. I only go home when it's weekend, like 2 days, and I learned a lot about facing loneliness. To me, it's more like have fun when nobody's around. There also grow bad side in my heart. I don't understand what is love, so I just try to give away everything I have to other people, so they will feel beloved. They will not feel lonely. Like I'm fine just by myself. And then when I got in the middle school, my parents' business started to be stabilized. So I lived in the apartment again with we don't own a house in China. We usually no live in apartment. But that time the home is not a safe shelter to me. It's not like the place I can be myself. There's a new challenge to me. How I'm gonna get along with the people I know for life, but I don't know anything about them. My dad had a dramatic attitude change in the family. He wants to have a relationship with me, like really father and son, but I was rejected hard. I'm not the type of person like argue with my dad, but I just remain silent. I was like, you just talk yours. I'm just, And my mom just trying to talk to me. Your dad is different. He's a new husband. Like he's a new father. You should look at him, new eyes. But I was like, sure, you change yours. I rather enjoying the loneliness that time, other than spend time with my family, with my father. I put a wall around my heart. My friends love to talk with me because I'm a good listener. And, normally we just trying to share my own opinion. Adults think I'm mature because I talk gently. It's just like a mask on my face, but change happened. Now I don't feel lonely anymore. So I was international students. Now it's my third year. I moved out of apartment. I can say like that. So I moved to Shanghai, which is like an hour away from my parents, and then I started a new life there. And after spending 1 year in the international school, I came here last year. And I have the actual topic about the senior project is how to survive in Marshall House. This is a new home to me. Life in Marshall's house is hard. In China, I only have a little sister. She's only 3 years younger than me, and normally we don't talk. It's like 3 years apart. Like, I don't care what you think. But in New Hampshire, life is busy. I mean, every second I have four boys around me, four brothers around me. Life struggles. And boys these days, they're just hard. I'm so tired every day carrying Nolan around. I don't know why, but he just on my shoulder all the time. And Reed is trying to talk with me every second about asking questions, like how about China? And Colin wants to go to a bike ride. Last year, after school, every day, I was like, this is school day. I'm not going outside. And Eli is quiet. He play games in the playroom and play the Xbox. Yeah, but sometimes he just walk around, just like go like this, and try to get my attention. I was like, "What? Don't you see I'm busy?" They feel the every second of my life, and also mom and dad Marshall. They always willing to talk with me and always willing to chat about anything I want to say. Like, yeah, in that situation, you don't normally feel lonely because you way too busy. And the picture, this my life last year, you can see. Oh, and another thing I have to mention, Mrs. Marshall's dinner is amazing. You can see the size change. I came here, I was wearing the medium, and then during the Christmas, I was like, oh shoot, the medium can't fit me, large right now. And then when I got back to China, I was like, can I have X large, please? But I never been loved, but they loved me. And now I think about the time before that loneliness. It's okay. Now my life is different.
To not be scared? No, it's just weird. How it feels to be with you, I guess.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting experience because when I came back, people were like, they kind of be like, oh, I almost forgot that you weren't here this whole time. Or it was just kind of interesting how much time had passed
Yeah.
and everything just kind of started to go back to normal.
Yeah.
So it didn't really seem like it affected me that much.
Yeah.
Just more of like while it was happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that time in my life like was a growing period
Yeah.
where like I learned that it's okay to not be with not to have to be with people
Yeah.
all the time. Like I don't know, I feel like there's so much growth that goes on when you're spending time with yourself. I don't know whether that's by choice or not, and I don't know, I feel like it can give you a new perspective on life almost, and you can learn more about yourself through it too. And so yeah, looking back, I'm thankful for that time in my life
Yeah.
because I feel like I definitely learned more about who I am as a person.
I would say that the Lord will allow things to happen in our lives so that we can show His goodness through it. That I can see the Lord's hand in it. I saw Him when I was a child, and I see it now, and I see Him through the experience of great loss in my life. That His hand was there, and I can encourage other people now with that. I can truly say that, hey, I know what you're going through. I know what you're experiencing. I understand loss. I understand grief, and that can help encourage somebody else.
Well, one of the things that I think is really, really important is that I try to talk to God at those times because God really is everywhere. There's no place that He's not. Even in the middle of the darkest night, He's there. And reminding myself of that, it doesn't immediately make my life all fun and exciting, but it does give me reassurance that even in the darkest times, I'm not really alone. And that's really helpful.
Yeah, actually, like everything in life, there's good and there's bad. Right?
Yeah.
And at that time, I wasn't a Christian.
Yeah.
I was just a young person, always seeking God. I was always seeking God, but I was not a Christian. And we would, if I look back at the lessons learned, as number one, the bad thing that I learned was to put up walls between me and other people. So, because I knew that I didn't want to get too close to a person, because I knew I would have to leave them. And that was hurtful. I would feel sad when I would leave them. So I learned a defense mechanism to put up a wall and not to be able to get to know them close. That's the bad part, because that followed me into life. And I would not be as open to new friendships because of that, all those years of having to do that.
Yeah.
The good part is it made me try to understand how to be alone, and because that's in a lot of and it caused me to turn inward. And when I turned inward, that's when I started to look at questions about, who am I? What is there a God? Things like that. So it really forced me to start to look at more what I now know are more important questions about life. My biggest advice was, I wish I had realized how it made me put up those walls, so I could not make friends very good for a long, long time. So my advice would be to not let that be something that becomes a part of you. That's your automatic reaction if you had that similar kind of an experience when you just didn't get a chance to be with people for a long enough time to establish a relationship. And the other piece is that what I learned later in life when I did find the true God, when I came to faith, is am never alone now, because I can always turn to God. And in fact, first there, when I'm ever thinking of, am I alone, that's the first place I go now, and I realize I'm not. And I wish I had that when I was younger, because it was pretty lonely sometimes. I was always the new kid, and everybody would, make fun of the new kid and not let them into the circles and the cliques and the things that are there. And I was never long enough there to really get into them anyway. So don't build the walls. That would be my learn how to not build them so fast.
Yeah, if I had to go back and give myself advice in that, or give advice to teenagers in the same situation, what I ended up doing is, because I didn't feel like I had people, I really dug into the Psalms. If you think about the story of David, he spent a lot of time alone. He spent a lot of time hiding in caves. He spent a lot of time being hated and not understood by the people he was supposed to lead. So in the Psalms, you see him outline a lot of his loneliness and a lot of his depression. So I was able to connect with that. But I was also able to find hope in that. And it's just this really cool idea that we have a God that gets it, that God was willing to come and humble himself and live a life like us, that he experienced that he knows what it's like to be alone, and he knows what it's like to feel like no one gets you. Because who could possibly have understood Jesus? None of us could have related to him. So I was able to find some comfort in that. But I think because that's where I turned to, God was willing to bless me, and he actually gave me a friend that had a similar story. What her dreams were, she couldn't achieve for similar reasons that I couldn't achieve mine. And I had been tutoring her for over a year in the law classes. She had been there all along, and I wasn't even aware. So as far as giving advice, would be to step closer to God, and a lot of times he will actually provide for you a real live person that gets it. And she did, and she was able to offer me the support and offer me the understanding that I wasn't getting elsewhere, and to help me move closer. And it takes risk. You have to be willing to tell somebody your story, to be vulnerable and authentic with someone. So that's, I think, what we're so afraid to do when we're alone, is be authentic. And when she asked me one time, "How are you doing?" I decided to just be honest with her. And that's what sparked that. And then all of a sudden I wasn't alone. I had a friend that was willing to help walk me through that and walk me out of that.
Supposed to be end here, so sorry. I forgot, I have that clip thing there. So the wall around my heart has been broke down by the people with me these 2 years. Thank you all for spending time with me, especially all the seniors. You guys are amazing. I can just ask vocab in the middle of the class, like usually happen in Mrs. Mitchell's class. I was like, someone help, and you guys can help me. And I was like, that's not normally happen. I was like, well, they think I'm an idiot or something. I was like, okay, but you guys always help me out, thank you. And all the time I spent with sports teams, thank you guys, be my teammates. I never played sports before, and I never actually have lifelong friends. And thank you all the teachers have been patient to me, teaching me and grade me gently. Didn't give me a hard time to pass. And I want to thank my family in China that they can send me over here, and I got time to spend with you guys. Can you guys wave at the camera in the back, so at least they know you guys care about me? Thank you. And then the last one, I will thank you Marshall family. Thank you for accepting this boy, coming from nowhere, and just be a part of family. And I love you guys for my full heart, all heart. Yeah, like you get my idea. And then also Easter is coming up. It's April, right? And uh, Mr. Mitchell asked me to talk about Easter. I was like, we don't have that festival in China, right? And Easter is coming, the day Jesus on the cross died for our sin, and the loneliness on the cross when God turned His face away from Jesus. Jesus have been experienced the time when He was praying with followers in the garden when all the followers fell asleep. He's biologically alone, but His spiritually is connect with the God Father. But when He was on the cross, He experienced loneliness. Jesus is not there. God is not there. People is not there. He's all by himself on the cross. And so he knows what is lonely. And he understands what is lonely. And he will never let us feel lonely. And here's a verse I found in the Isaiah 41, verse 10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteousness right hand. So this comforts me a lot, like even though I'm all by myself here, like no matter what, like someone is holding me. And then like cause this is a loneliness, so if you guys want to talk with me or like anything, you want to find me somewhere, like that's my phone number and my email address that I normally use, and my Instagram, my Snapchat, my Facebook, and you can just send me a message like if you want to talk with me or anything. And also you can go talk to all the teachers in the videos. They will have some advice to you. And then for all, thank you guys. Double click if you like it, subscribe if you love it.